Hi everyone, welcome back to InSync. I'm your host Anmol Irfan and welcoming back our second part of our project Echoes Unmuted Navigating Technology Facilitated Gender-Based Violence. Echoes Unmuted is a project we've launched at Echoes Media in collaboration with WOW Pakistan ahead of their upcoming WOW Festival in January. As we continue with our project, which focuses on the complexities of tech-facilitated gender-based violence, we have with us today a key voice within the field of gender justice, who has worked in multiple arenas, including leading a consortium of She Leads at Search for Common Ground, where she led interventions to combat tech-facilitated gender-based violence and foster safe digital spaces for women and girls in Central Asia and Pakistan. Wardah Iftikhar is a gender rights advocate and development practitioner with over 8 years of experience in women's economic empowerment, inclusive policy development, and rights-based governance across South Asia. And Wardah, I am so excited to have you here today and hear your thoughts on this very important topic.
Likewise, thank you for having me. I'm very excited of how this unfolds.
So Wardah, you have, mashallah, achieved so much in your career and you've touched upon so many different arenas. I'm sure there's a lot that motivates you, but what I really want to get started with is what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Well, I think there are days when it's easy and then there are days when it's hard, but for me, the biggest motivation is to have a better future which is gender equitable for my children, for them to have an outlook of life which I think our generation might not be able to see, but to work towards that so that they have a better life is something that motivates me every day and whenever I'm down.
I think that's such an amazing motivation to have, for your future generations and for the future generations of this world, because a lot of times it can get very almost scary thinking about the future when we think about everything that's going wrong right now, right? From gender justice to climate justice to what's been happening with tech. And tech is something that is very unavoidable in our lives now. Digital spaces are becoming more and more common. And I'm wondering if there's any dangers or concerns that you're worried people will miss out on as our lives become more digital.
Well, I happen to come from an engineering background myself, and my switch to social sciences was an afterthought of when I looked at things from the perspective that we aren't doing enough. We as engineers are trained to see the world in black and whites. However, the world doesn't operate this way. Similarly, when it comes to technology, that is how we're making it. And the people who are marketing technology are marketing it from a profit-based perspective, from revenue generation perspective, and that there's a big link that's missing between the engineering part and the marketers part, which is where social sciences comes into being, and which is where we see what thing that comes into the market has some dangers associated with them, even when it's being marketed as being very powerful. So yes, technology is the future. Technology is a very powerful tool. It has transformed the world as we see it. And there's so much in the world that is changing just because of technology. It provides us opportunities, it provides us connectivity. And we, for one, have seen it evolve in front of our eyes. But then there are people who are born after us who see technology as a daily thing. And I think even for us as well. So then there's a generation who is older than us who is struggling and is also prone to lots of dangers that technology can offer, in terms of their anonymity, in terms of maybe their decisions being taken by someone else. So I think it puts us in a very position where we need to be very mindful of what we are offering to the world and what we're getting out of it. Because as digital natives and as digital migrants, we have seen it evolve. And we also see how it impacts people who are differently abled, maybe discriminated, maybe marginalized, and when it comes to this, it's generally targeting women, girls, religious communities, people who have different gender orientations and stuff. And this puts us at a conjunction where I think my work really places me with the background in engineering and then the switch to social sciences to see the world from black and white into shades of gray and how it's impacting different people.
Mm-hmm. And that impact, like you said, is quite a lot when it comes to certain vulnerable groups, right? And certain topics as well. So certain people who are talking about maybe more sensitive topics, like in Pakistan, TFGBV is one of them, can maybe be directed with a lot more hate. So how do you navigate all of that while doing your work, while still doing justice to your work, but at the same time keeping yourself safe and protecting your well-being online?
Well, I think for me, TFGBV is a continuum of what was happening offline. It's just the technology part is just a new tool or a new medium of to translate what's happening in the offline space. So, however, it has made things easier in a way that you can be sitting in Sargodha and targeting someone in Karachi. You can be sitting in Pakistan and talking to someone in Zimbabwe, and vice versa. So, when such things happen, it's a very complex and multi-dimensional thing to look at, to understand, to see where it's coming from, to see what can be done to counter that, and to see where do you place that boundary for yourself. What, as much as we say that TFGBV asks of people to self-silence them because of the lack of infrastructure, responses, and even referral paths. But we also need to be mindful of what we do as a person when it's happening to you or someone you know. As much as you should be going out to law enforcement, you should be making your social profile safe. But it's not just that. Maybe self-silencing in that moment is important for your personal well-being, for your mental health, for maybe in some cases physical safety as well. So that's what I do. Safety first has always been my approach. I do not call myself a radical feminist. I really do want to work with the systems, making that systematic and behavioral change. Hence, I'm a big advocate of working with boys and men to help them understand what this is doing to them, to help them understand how society can evolve if we all work collectively. I hope this answers your question in some parts and bits, but it's so scattered over the place.
No, it definitely does. And it actually brings up a really important point that I wanted to go towards, which is that involvement of boys and men within the conversation. So online and offline, what's your experience been in involving them in the conversation and asking them to improve these spaces, and asking them to move away from harmful behaviors? What's the response been like? And what's your own experience again and your own safety sort of been like within these situations?
Well, I think, again, it's multi-layered. It speaks of the privilege that I come with. I happen to be a Pakistani Muslim educated girl with from also a Muslim religious majority group. So things come differently to me, but my experiences are not reflective of what a girl maybe in GB experiences, for that matter, maybe a girl who is from Hindu community in some parts of further part of Sindh experiences. So I would not be the judge for all, but what I've seen and what I've done is that I have been always advocating of engaging with men and boys in a way so that they understand. See, what happens in silos is we've opted for government schools which are only for girls. We understand the concerns. We have opted for pink buses in Islamabad and Rawalpindi. We've opted for women-only police stations. But what we're missing out when we do all this is that we do not help them regulate both men and women. And when we're talking about it, we can include other genders as well. But we don't, when they coexist, they don't know how to behave, how to communicate, how to even if they have a argument, what is the boundary that should not be crossed and what is a red flag when it comes to that. So in my work, I've been talking to boys and men around digital safety, around digital literacy, around different gender norms. And it could start with a small conversation. For instance, if you go to a school, a college, a community, and you ask them, when you think of a nurse, what comes to your mind? When you think of a teacher, can you picture a teacher for me? Can you make a teacher for me? Can you make a boss for me? And that would tell you what their thinking patterns are. And it starts small. This conditioning starts from very early on in the schools and colleges, and even in the houses that they live in. So we have to start and penetrate there. We don't have to just go with our US funded flags and logos and things, but we have to tell them that this is for them. I always say in most of my conversations that if we work towards gender equality, if we work towards women empowerment, it would free up men from lots of things that they have to take on their shoulders just because of this patriarchal society and the patriarchal country that we live in. It would give them the chance to be, to love, to empathize, to play, to do things that are creative, and that would help us. That would probably help with the health issues that they face in later ages. That would help them have better bonds with their family, better bonds with their friends for that matter. So it's a holistic thing that we can work towards, and everyone has to do their own bit. My work might not just maybe change Pakistan overnight, but it's just one person who's thinking changes because of one session or one workshop they attended or one video they saw or one social media thing that we did. So that's how I approach my work, and that's my hope that others do too.
And I think, like you said, centering all sorts of voices in the conversation and also acknowledging your own privilege is really important. And I've noticed that in your work, you specifically focus a lot on local communities, on looking at their needs, working on projects that actively involve them. And why is their centering their voices so important? Again, keeping in mind that, a lot of us who are sort of front and center within these spaces or have the privilege to have a voice do, like you said, have a lot of privilege. And so we don't necessarily speak for the whole country.
Yes, I think that is so important because I think that's what Global North learns from the Global South as well. Because what we see, for instance, in technology, in the apps that will come to us are made in the Global North. When they come to us, we tell them, because there's no, I'd say, testing or penetration testing for them, they come to us, we tell them this is sensitive content, this is not culturally appropriate for us. For instance, we have been working with Facebook as part of their service where they would take down any comment that could be offensive. So a picture of a girl and boy in a public place in Lahore was circulating online, and the girl, let's say, talks to us and tells us that she wants this picture removed from Facebook because this can be offensive and can be a safety threat for her and her family. And this picture goes to Facebook, and the Facebook office in Singapore or any part of the world, they decide that they don't find the picture offensive because a girl and boy are just sitting on a bench in a public space in Lahore. So we tell them, but in our cultural context, this is not right because dating is not a culture in Pakistan, culturally accepted thing in Pakistan. And they don't remove the picture, the girl gets under threat, maybe she is homebound, maybe she has to discontinue her education or the economic opportunities that she was pursuing otherwise. So this small example would tell you why is it important for us who have some kind of privilege to understand and talk to local communities, because something that is not a problem for us might be a life-threatening situation for a girl or a boy in some communities. And we need to localize their understanding, and we need to this is where the victim-centric responses that we say come from, because we need to understand what the stakeholders feel about a thing. We cannot just go out there and tell them what we want to do. We need to understand what their problem is. For instance, around school systems that we have in Pakistan, we have been chanting that we have the highest number of out-of-school girls in the world. But when let's say a UN agency or for anyone for that matter comes to Pakistan and they'll say we want to open 100 schools, it would still not improve the situation, because we need to understand what the problem is. The problem might be commutes. The problem might be cultural resistance to girls taking up education in schools. The problem might be the curriculum that is being taught. Or the problem might also be that they don't see the value that even a metric degree for a girl would get. So we need to break down that small segments to understand where the problem is and what solution would work for a particular community and that solution might only be localized to that community, and if we go to with the same solution to another community, might just totally fail. This is why we need more people who are representative of their communities. And when I say representation, I don't mean that a person who's just from the community but has never lived there and is using that existence cap for him or her to represent their community and get a place. We need localized community leaders who've lived and experienced that community long enough to say something about them and have a voice for them.
Yeah, definitely. And like right now, when you told that story in terms of using it as an example to show how the global north and data centers and algorithms and sort of moderation there doesn't necessarily accommodate for our needs and our cultures, it shows the importance of storytelling within these very often data-centric spaces. And you've done a lot of storytelling in your work. So what's so important about shaping the right story around key topics like GBV, TFGBV, and particularly within the digital world where stories can so often, either they go viral or they can be tweaked or taken out of context?
Well, I think because there's no other way. Because technology is here to stay, and when I say technology or technology facilitated gender-based violence, it's just not what's happening on social media. It could be anything. It could be tracking devices. It could be apps that have your data. And what, something that's very interesting is that we do lots of surveys and things, and when we talk to South Asian communities about privacy, for instance, we would hear that privacy is wanted for people by people who have something to hide. They don't think of it as a fundamental human right. And then around privacy, so you have to really talk them down that security by design and safety by design and privacy by design are your human rights. Not with technology, it's a given. So when we see those storytelling parts and how they are taken up by technological giants as well, it's different. They would use it for their own benefits. What we've seen with even extremist content and even gender-based violence content online, so what happens is, because these technological platforms are built in a way that they benefit out of the engagement that they have in posts. So some posts that are just informative might not have the reach, and then there would be Nadia and Nadia who it would break all records. So to find that balance where the information that you're trying to portray and give out has some entertainment content so that the tech firms find it worthy of feeding it to their algos, is something that we all really struggle with, which makes us do lots of things at the same time. Sometimes a story, when it reaches to where we want it to reach, is transformed and changed in so many levels and ways that it's beyond us, which is what we've seen with misinformation as well, and which was pretty evident in COVID times, that WhatsApp doctors would tell you that garlic would fix any and everything in the world, and that's what all you need to do, and COVID is just a myth that someone sitting in somewhere made. So yes, we need to have that very fine balance to see where the storytelling could lead us and what could it possibly do wrong to people as well, because not every story would be intercepted in the same way by everyone. And if it's not, what are we doing with the people whose story we're narrating is some fine balance that I think we all need to work on, which sometimes I think this should be made part of everyone's work, rather, because with digital phones, everyone is now a photojournalist maybe, or a citizen journalist for that matter, but we don't understand what's the limit, where do we stop, what information could be leaked out for a person, and we've seen it in cases that have been very sensitive. We've seen very sensitive information coming out as well, starting from where they live to who they were with, and all sorts of information that a person who just happened to have a camera out there recorded and fed the systems.
Yeah, and I think that balance you're talking about is something we struggle with at Echoes as well. The idea that we need to put out of course, 100% ethical journalism, no clickbait, nothing, but at the same time, get people engaged. So, how do we find a story that's not clickbaity and not going against our values, but at the same time is wanting people to know more, because there's only so many kinds of people and a very small amount, right, that are going to flick through the data or flick through the numbers, like you said. Most people do want something a little bit more engaging.
Well, yes, and I agree, and I think it's a struggle for everyone. It's a struggle for our law enforcement as well. It's a struggle for our government bodies as well. It's a struggle for civil society organizations as well, because that's all we want to do. We want the information to go out to people, and then we have to juggle it up to make it attractive. And sometimes I think that's so much work that we miss out on what we actually intended to do. And our social media strategists are at times struggling because we tell them that we want an impact for our information to go, and they're like, this information is going nowhere because you're just telling them to reach out to a helpline, and if they want to know it, they'll probably ask them AI as well. So yes, it's a very fine balance on most days, but for me, I think it's a struggle. A lot of work goes into it, and some days we fail miserably, honestly.
I think it's all about the effort, right? It's about navigating these very complex spaces, which you've put into nuance so well in this conversation. And so I think just something to leave our listeners with is, what are some tips you have for women to safely navigate these very complex digital spaces?
Well, I think I don't want to give out advice to women, because also what happens in the society is that we put the blame and on the person who's suffering, we put the responsibility on the person who's suffering as well. I understand it's very important to have secure connections, not use public Wi-Fi, have two-factor authentication and a different email address, and not interact with person who's you think is not safe. Then all the apps tell you to not even meet a person you think is not safe. That said and done, this can only be done at an individual level, which everyone should be concerned about. And then everyone should know about it. We should not just randomly accept the terms and conditions. We should try to read them. And when it comes to the platforms part, I think it's the responsibility for them, because we are the consumers. We pay for lots of services. We give access to lots of our data, but we need to be mindful of the data that we're giving them, and then we should be able to uphold them responsible for the data that they are circulating. We should be mindful of the laws that we have, but when I say this, I am also mindful of that the law enforcement agencies in Pakistan and otherwise need to upkeep with what's happening on the technological arenas, because once a complainant goes to the law enforcement agencies, they're generally disappointed. And when there's this person who's decided to step up to complain, has already fought lots of battles in the house inside that very person, and they're trying to break a social barrier already. So when that person goes and for instance they would complain about someone harassing them or someone stalking them, sharing some absurd information with them, our systems are not sensitized enough. They would tell them that maybe this issue is not as big as a girl who just got killed or raped for that matter. I'm not comparing the two, but I'm just saying that every person's suffering is legitimate and that person's experience is also legitimate. We can't be comparing them. So, but a law enforcement officer telling them this kind of belittles what they're feeling and maybe breaks it for other people to follow up on the circumstances. Similarly, we have been seeing in the arenas where the platforms and the app stores have been constantly upholding a battle where the platforms tell the app stores to be more surveillant in the way that they should be asking the age, and inappropriate apps should not be available for kids who are under a certain age. or for adults. But my question to platforms is that maybe all apps should come with a basic and high level of security, and the high level of security should be by default. So someone who makes a informed choice of bypassing that security is now responsible for what's happening to them. But even for kids, for instance, if we don't have that high level of security, and if they break past it, they'll be in their arena which is for adults again, but the adults are not safe as well. So why not have systems that have a higher obstacle course for them to cross, and if they are out of it, they can make mistakes and we can take care of them. However, the systems also need to continuously improve, because the bypassers who are not making mistakes are also improving on daily and hourly basis. So there should be regression testing of all systems that are in place, which are online and offline, because whatever happens in technological front becomes a social construct again. And I, for one, don't want that space to have same patriarchal values and misogyny that we see offline. And not just that, with AI coming in and taking up all the space that there is, we need to also be very mindful of the biases that AI, for instance, has, because that, again, it's human made. Whoever is making it is feeding into it what it thinks it is true or the right way of life or things and concepts and theories. But the feedback loop of a particular person would only make that echo chamber stronger for that. If I ask a AI tool something that I believe to be true or false, it would only tell me based on what I have been feeding it in most cases. So we need to have really strong ethical grounds for AI as well, as to what it can share, what it can't share. Maybe it can flag users, which is something that we have also been doing for Meta around extremist content, that if someone says something, Meta warns it that is that what you really mean, because it can be offensive, it can be sensitive, it can offend a few people, and it cannot be taken well, and it's also against our community standards. And again, building on from that, the community standards also need to be community specific. You can't have one community standards for the whole world, let alone Pakistan, because every community has their own sensitivities, behaviors that are acceptable, behaviors that are not acceptable, words that are acceptable, the conduct that people can have. So it's a long shot, and just saying that only a particular group of the community should be more concerned or taking more steps, I think it's an added burden on them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Wardah. I think those are some great thoughts to leave our listeners with something to think about. And for anyone who's more interested in Wardah's work, I'll be linking her work in the description below. And as always, I'll be linking to Echoes Media for anyone who wants to see what we've been doing in our multimedia projects and with Echoes Unmuted as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in once again. And Wardah, thank you so much for being here today. It was such a pleasure to have you, and I will see all of you listeners next time.